Welcome to Sleepover Cinema, where we analyze the films that created the collective unconscious of those who want to see Amanda Bynes with an Oscar by 2025 at the latest. I'm Hannah Leach.
And I'm Audrey Leach. We are the sister filmmaking duo also known as Two Pink Pictures, and we haven't stopped thinking about these movies since we first saw them.
We're going to explore the good, the bad, and the nonsensical of the movies that first inspired our love for film, in an attempt to answer the question, are these movies actually good? And at the end of the day, do we really care if they are?
Today we are talking about 2009's Hannah Montana, the movie.
Let's get crazy.
The world knows her as a superstar.
Don't forget it's your turn to do the dishes tonight.
I would so love these.
Sorry, I saw these first. Do you know who I am?
Well, I know you know who I am.
She is so in trouble.
But no one knows where she came from.
Hello, New York.
Until now.
Welcome to Tennessee.
Dad, come on, don't do this.
I think we might be done.
You're saying I can never be Hannah again?
Ask me in 2 weeks.
Now the girl who has it all is in for a big surprise.
Dig that. Hold still. Miley! Whoa! Sweet niblets. I may not know it.
Where are we going?
Show you what you're missing.
I'm gonna remember most of I gotta be strong. Just keep
I'm tired of living a double life.
I think you should do whatever you think is right.
Sometimes you're gonna have to love. Ain't no flowers waiting on the other side. It's the fire.
Hannah Montana, the movie.
I'll just come right out and say it to all of you. I had not seen this movie until today. So I went into this knowing I knew three things going into this. I knew The Climb. I knew something about being out of place. And I knew that there was a Taylor Swift cameo, and I totally forgot about Hoedown Throwdown until I was like 20 minutes in. So.
Wow. Wait, how do you know
Yes.
you haven't seen it? That just seems unlikely.
Because I have zero memory of watching it, and I had literally no idea what was going to happen when I was watching it. And also,
Okay.
Audrey, you have to remember that I vehemently despised Hannah Montana.
I know that one year for my birthday or Christmas or something, our Aunt Sarah got me a Hannah Montana purse. And I know that I decided to draw a mustache on Miley Cyrus with a Sharpie. Yeah. And I felt really bad about it after I did it. Because I think Mom saw it or something, or you saw it, and you guys were like, well, now you've ruined it, like we could have returned it or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I felt so bad about it. But I'm like, I just don't remember having like a hatred for Hannah Montana at the time. So I'm thinking what it might be, and like even now, like I'm totally neutralized. For the most part, I'm totally neutralized towards Hannah Montana, and I like Miley Cyrus now. But maybe some of your feelings towards the show, they probably like rubbed off on me, and I was just going off.
They probably did. I really did not like Hannah Montana, and I will be committing some Miley Cyrus slander today on the pod, but let me just say that it's not about her as a person, and it's not about like me hating on her as a child. I'm going to direct my comments more at the corporate product that is Miley Cyrus more than anything else.
Yeah, which is not her. Really.
Yeah, like I don't have problems with her like as a person at all.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we get into all of that, let's talk about the facts surrounding this movie. So, Hannah Montana, the movie, was released in theaters very uniquely and notably on April 10th, 2009. It was directed by Peter Chisholm. I don't know why he was the director of this movie. He didn't really direct any other Disney things, and nothing he directed I recognized, so that was interesting to me. The producers were not notable, and they were there was a lot of them, and I was like, no, we're not talking about them. But very notably, the screenplay was written by Dan Berenson, who wrote all of these movies. Cheetah Girls One World, Camp Rock 2, Wizards of Waverly Place the movie, Twitches 2, Twitches, Cinderella 3, Stuck in the Suburbs, Halloween Town High, and many episodes of the original Sabrina the Teenage Witch series.
Why is he delegated to the bad sequel and threequel of every series? That is awful. And you know what? I'm sorry, Dan, but most of these movies that are listed are the downfall of the franchise.
Yep.
Of whatever series it is.
Yes.
That's interesting.
And of course, the characters, like there's writers credited for like the characters of the movie, and those are the creators of the TV show. So it's Michael Pors, Richard Correll, and Barry O'Brien, who were the show creators. So we got a lot of men, in case you haven't noticed, steering this one. Audrey, would you like to read the plot synopsis?
Miley Stewart is like any other teenage girl. She juggles friends, school, and family, but unlike most teenagers, she is secretly a pop star called Hannah Montana. When her popularity starts to take control of her life, her father sends her on a vacation to his hometown in the Tennessee backcountry to give her a perspective on what really matters in life. And the tagline is, she has the best of both worlds, ... Now she has to pick just one.
Which, not to spoil, but does she have to pick one? We will come back to that.
It's not really how
Keep
life
it in
works.
your mind. No. With that in mind, let's get into the cast. And now I'm going to guide us through the cast because I have it formatted in a very chaotic way that's different than normal. Because most of the actors in this movie are reprising their role from the TV show. So obviously you have Miley Cyrus as in the titular role of Hannah Montana. She was probably one of the most bankable, if not the most bankable star of her demographic at this time. She was really big. I mean, the Hannah Montana movie coming out was a cultural moment for sure.
Yeah, but she wasn't known for being like a film actress, so I feel like this was like a huge jump.
Right. So she's huge. Of course, her on-screen dad is her real-life dad, Billy Ray Cyrus. Her best friend, Lily, is played by Emily Osment. And those are like essentially the main characters that come back. But there's weird cameos from Mitchell Musso as Oliver and Moises Arias as Rico. They're actually not cameos. They're like in the very beginning, and then they never come back. Jason Earles as Jackson, the brother, is visually in this movie, but he doesn't really say anything, but he's there a lot, which is interesting. So beyond those people who are the regulars, we very notably have Vanessa Williams as Miley/Hannah's publicist named Vita. She's primarily known to us as Wilhelmina Slater from Ugly Betty, but she was also on Desperate Housewives and Shaft, the movie, and her music career is like very significant. She's like one of the grand divas of our time. Then we have Margot Martindale as Grandma Ruby, and you know, I don't really know that many celebrities, but I was watching this with a friend and she was like, oh my God, Margot Martindale. And I was like, I don't fucking know who celebrities are, but she's in August Osage County, BoJack Horseman, and The Good Wife. The Good Wife is one of those TV show names that feels like it doesn't mean anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and yet somehow like everybody knows it. Like somehow everyone's like, yeah, I think they're on The Good Wife. It's like, is everybody on The Good Wife? Like, is every actor and actress on The Good Wife? That's my question.
Yeah, so she's on The Good Wife, allegedly. And then we have these juicy cameos. You have Tyra Banks in the beginning, who is in-universe Tyra Banks, which leaves me with more questions than answers.
Yes, because Taylor Swift is not in universe Taylor Swift.
Right. So Taylor Swift also has this cameo, and also Rascal fucking Flatts, Life is a Highway, is not Rascal Flatts, but they're in it too.
They are. Yeah, so we've got 3 celebrity cameos that in theory would be them playing themselves, but it's only one of them playing themselves. But there is absolutely no change of exterior to the other 2. So it's like,
nope,
that's Taylor Swift as Taylor Swift, but she's not, because she's not famous in the movie.
Yeah, right.
And same with Rascal Flatts. Are they all... is the whole of Rascal Flatts in Miley Cyrus's family?
I think that's what they're trying to imply in this movie.
Yeah, it is.
We were saying, as we were watching, me and Josh and my friend, that Rascal Flatts is the perfect example of why white men shouldn't riff. When he hits that long riff when they're sitting on the porch, it's too much. It's just far too much. But funny, because it's Rascal Flatts. In-universe Rascal Flatts, but not Rascal Flatts. So whatever. You got these random celebrity cameos. Then you have Lucas Till as the hot new love interest, Travis Brody of Miley. So he's in X-Men First Class and X-Men Apocalypse, and he's currently in MacGyver, and I knew he looked familiar to me, and I couldn't figure out why, but I recognized him because he's the love interest in the You Belong With Me video. Yeah,
of course. That's all I know him for.
Well, I feel like that's all he ever did that was, like, up our alley, really.
Yeah.
And then I saw in the fun facts that apparently Taylor Swift did date him.
I'm sure she did.
Yeah.
I'm sure she did.
And more power to her, frankly.
Palpable chemistry.
And then next we have Melora Hardin as the love interest of Robbie Ray, Lorelai, who is, like, most recognizable as having played the love interest of Michael Scott on The Office, but she's also the principal in 17 again. She's Maureen in 27 Dresses, and she's Tammy in Transparent. So she's done lots of things that we've seen, which is cool. And the whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, where the fuck is Miss Dolly Parton? She should be here.
That was going to come up for me big time in the second half because...
Yes.
Ooh,
yeah.
I knew she must have had some involvement at some point, but...
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Dolly Parton is Miley Cyrus's actual godmother, and she's also her godmother on the TV show. And in the original script, according to IMDb, Dolly Parton, who was on the show, was going to have a part in the movie, but she was dropped after the script was fully finished, which just to me, it's like this movie potentially could have been salvaged by the weird camp of Dolly Parton being there, and they just said no.
I feel like that fact is probably just so extremely through the grapevine that there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, probably.
Like maybe scheduling or budget or something, you know.
Yeah.
Some production reason, because why would you do that? That just doesn't make any sense at all.
Right. So we missed her here. And then, okay, there's these 2 little, like, bit parts that are the daughters of this paparazzi guy, and I thought that one of them was Natalia Dyer, but then I was like, no way. But then it was, so she's in there. Okay, so Audrey, you want to take us into this next section?
Yes. El Numeros. So the budget for Hannah Montana the movie was $30 million estimated. The box office opening weekend made $32,324,487. So very much on par with what they spend. That's really good. And obviously that's the first weekend, so it did very well.
Yes.
The overall worldwide gross is $155,545,279.
Violent.
So, yeah, I think they've done all right with this.
Yes.
So as far as the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 43%. That kind of seems accurate, actually. I kind of agree. The critic consensus is, while youthful, Miley fans won't complain. Hannah Montana the movie is little more than a formulaic Disney Channel episode stretched thin. Yes.
I would agree.
Yeah, that's about accurate. And then it got a 67% audience score. And I would assume that most of the people that are giving it a score are people that like Miley Cyrus or like Hannah Montana. I feel like that adds up.
Yes. Yeah. So there were some very good reviews of this movie, and I just picked out 2 excerpts that I thought represented the opposite ends of the spectrum. So the first one is a grumpy person, and the second one is a really happy person. Audrey, do you have a preference between the two?
Maybe the mean person.
Okay. So if you want to play the role of Martin Sy of criticsnotebook.com, I compel you to give it a shot. This review specifically speaks to some plot points, so spoilers lie ahead if you have not watched it yet.
What a bummer if you have not caught this film. Yeah.
Truly life-changing. As someone who watched it for the first time today, let me tell you, I am a changed person.
Okay, so here it is. A paparazzo and a shopping mall developer serve as villains here, so Hannah Montana the movie doesn't have to tackle the harsh realities of corporate farms and migrant workers so prevalent on the American landscape. Instead, the film opts for the CMT music video approach by featuring attractive young people in cowboy duds, riding horses on the ranch by day, and line dancing at county fairs by night. It's true that legions of fans won't likely find the reality traumatizing once they are old enough to finally grasp it. Nevertheless, the film is hypocritical in the moral lesson it attempts to impart.
Yes. And I do agree, and we will come back to this, but I do agree that there's like a major romanticization of like what is Trump country, certainly, in this movie.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is. And then this was a really warm review by Debbie Lynn Elias of Behind the Lens Online. This is what she said. Hannah Montana the movie strikes a chord of home and hearth that just touches the heart, complete with an annoying brother, supportive friend, loving father and extended family, and an irrepressible teen who just happens to have an alter ego as a rock star. I said it just the other week with superheroes, and the same applies here. How many of you can honestly say you haven't dreamt of having a secret identity, and for all the girls out there, one that lets you play dress up and let's pretend and spend lots and lots of money on shoes and clothes? What? Where can I sign up? So, Debbie's feeling the fantasy, clearly.
Debbie is taking it for what it was made for. Like, that is what it is made for. Let's not... I mean, we're the ones who are going to take it to where Martin took it.
Yeah.
But we also try to hold both truths at the same time. So, there you go.
Yeah. I texted Audrey earlier, though, and I said, I am about to rip this movie apart. So, if you love this movie, I'm sorry in advance. There's just a lot of things that I have to say.
Turn it off now.
Literally, just, yeah, end it now. But before we get to that, so the culture of 2009 in our gossip section here, this is really more cultural stuff than gossip stuff. But this year, it was my freshman year of high school. I remember so much about this, 8th grade, 9th grade. And honestly, this list of things that happened is truly nauseating. So in 2009, I feel like if Hannah Montana, the movie, was a peak, or like was the peak of normie culture for people our age, and it was like this, I just feel like the countercultural stuff, or like the more dark stuff, like Twilight and like My Chemical Romance and like Paramore and stuff like that, which just was like stealing all of the power from the normie shit and just getting better and better. So that was going on in my mind. But this was like a list that I found. So Obama was sworn in January of 2009. Grindr launched in 2009. Gotta just put it there.
Great.
Modern Family and Glee premiered in 2009. Huge. Farmville became a thing in 2009 for those who remember. It was like a Facebook game. I never played it, but I know it was a thing. Michael Jackson died. And on the VMAs that year, basically back to back, you had Gaga's Bloody Paparazzi performance and the Kanye Taylor Swift origin story incident. So the snatching of the trophy and the Beyonce had the best video of all time, which I watched those VMAs live just because God was smiling down on me that day, and I was babysitting and the kids were asleep already, and I am so grateful every day that I saw that live. On the charts musically, we had Boom Boom Pow and I Got a Feeling just with their foot on our neck the entire year. A Dark Time. Jacob and Isabella were the top baby names of 2009, very Twilight influenced. Jersey Shore premiered in 2009, and Avatar came out, like the James Cameron Avatar. So that just is a lot. Do you remember all of that, Audrey?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember all that. I don't remember Grindr launching.
Me neither. We could have.
Yeah. I didn't know, a lot of people didn't even have iPhones then. So I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
Was it a website?
It was probably a website, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, 2009. Like,
But
that's
also,
crazy.
that was like when iPhones started, because I got mine in 2010, I think.
Yeah, I know, but most people I feel like majority of people like didn't necessarily have one yet. So
Yeah, that's true. But I guess the elite gays did.
yeah, I guess.
Cool. So, before we get into our review, our list of things that are better, worse, problematic, and noteworthy, what other things do you remember about this movie, this era from childhood? And also, when was the last time that you watched this movie?
So as far as things I remembered, we kind of already covered them. But yeah, I knew there was a Taylor Swift cameo. I had a very clear remembrance of Lucas Till in the field and like all the like horse riding shots. And when she like slow motion is like, what? When she like turns her head around, it's very strange where they chose to use slow motion in this movie because it doesn't always have the emotional weight that it should. But as far as when did I last see it, I have no clue. I don't even remember how or when I first saw it, if I saw it in theaters. I might have, but I don't know.
I feel like you had friends that would have wanted to see it in theaters because you were in 7th grade when it came out.
Yeah, I was very much in the target demographic. So yeah, it's possible I saw it in theaters or sometime in the near future after it came out. And then I probably saw it with like once within the past 5 years or something. I probably watched it at some point.
Yeah. So, as I stated already, I had never seen this movie until today, which is why this movie has never even like entered the ring of ones that we would maybe do. But the people have spoken and they wanted the Hannah Montana movie, and we wanted to keep it light today. So that is what we did. But yeah, my name is Hannah, so I hated Hannah Montana. People would call me Hannah Montana all the time. I did not like it. I found Miley Cyrus to be really annoying and really unlikable. And I still kind of feel that way, but I don't know her, so I feel bad saying that. But like, I'm just not a huge fan.
Slander. You said no slander.
I am apologizing. But she's just someone who has like been inescapably present at all big moments of my life. Like my welcome week at NYU, my freshman year, was the same week as like the Robin Thicke twerking thing.
Yeah.
And like We Can't Stop was a huge song, and I was just like, I want to divest from this individual, but I have not been able to, and she continues to follow me through my life, as she does with everyone pretty much.
Yeah.
But I thought she was really rude on the TV show. I thought she was rude to her parents. And for me, well, I guess maybe we should talk about this in the second half, but it's kind of more just like a statement on the show in general. I feel like this show was like the perfect example of like the post or right on the edge of like the High School Musical era, where it became it, like, instead of characters being relatable to you, it became about them being aspirational to you.
Yeah, we've
And-
talked about this before.
Yeah, I just feel like she's supposed to be someone that you're like, oh, she's so cool, like, she's a pop star, but, like, she's such an asshole that you're kind of like, I don't really want to be like her. That's how I felt, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be, like, the lesson. Yeah, we'll talk about it more later.
Yeah. Okay, so all of that being said, this movie's on Disney Plus quite legally. So hopefully you have access to Disney Plus and you can go watch it. Come back and join us for what may or may not be the roast of the Hannah Montana movie.
Definitely going to be that.
We will see you shortly. We are back, and we are about to discuss Hannah Montana, the movie. So, I have a feeling this section will be relatively short, but it seems humane to start with things that we thought were good.
Yeah, and for me, for my notes about things that, it's mostly things I thought that were funny, or I just appreciate the existence of a person. For example, I appreciate the existence of Vanessa Williams. That's good.
Yes.
That is a good thing.
Okay, I can take that.
When Miley gets dropped off in the road, or rather she makes Billy Ray stop in the road, and then the horse approaches, and then Billy Ray is like, oh, that's sad, like a girl doesn't even recognize her own horse. When Miley turns around and goes, blue jeans.
Yeah.
I was dying. So, like, it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it was. There were some shots that were genuinely really good. Just pretty shots. And I appreciated that they were on a location and that it looked very crisp, honestly. So, when I was watching it, I realized there's some major similarities between this movie and Cowbells. The fact that they are, you know, superficial girls, whatever, that need to come down to earth. And all of their family and peers are like, you suck. And they're like, yeah. We do.
Yeah.
But specifically, the trope of, like, walking into a gathering or, like, a house or an event and there's just already, like, a hoedown going on.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I'm like, why is all of, like, your extended family sitting in the living room, like, singing a song?
Yeah.
And that same thing happens in Cowbells. That it's just not family. It's the staff of the dairy.
Yes.
That is doing it, but I thought that was funny.
All right, my good things are Jason Earls has no lines. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And that's actually the only thing I had under good. So,
Damn.
what category should we do next?
Oh man. Okay, actually, let me just credit where some sliver of credit is due, in that I appreciate some of the Hannah Montana songs. I like Let's Get Crazy. That's a good one.
Okay.
And
Let's Get Crazy
Crime.
reminded me. Yeah. Let's Get Crazy reminded me. I was sitting there and I was like, if you're a 12-year-old girl and you're singing Let's Get Crazy, what are you imagining to yourself? You know what? Like
jumping
what's
up and down.
crazy?
It's just jumping up and down. That's all they can
It's just
do.
pure adrenaline.
Yeah, it's like eating an entire bag of Skittles and having like a Fanta and then jumping.
That's you. do. That's what you would do to get crazy when you were 12. You would like eat a whole bag of Skittles and a Fanta and like play Just Dance for 3 hours or something. Like that's what would happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That is
was
really
I
good.
not getting crazy? I was.
It's true. Okay, that was a very good counter to my question of what is it to get crazy when you're 12. Okay. Do you have any other concessions to make for this movie?
Like, The Climb deserves her flowers, in my opinion.
The Climb is a good song. I agree. I'll give her a few flowers. I'll give her a couple flowers.
You're like, I'll give you a dandelion.
Like, I'll give you a single stemmed rose with a little bow on it. Like, you can have
That's
that.
nice. That's classic.
Thank you. It's very Phantom of the Opera of me.
Yeah.
Okay, can I please start saying things?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this is what I wrote at the top of my page. This movie sucks as much as I possibly could have dreamed. Like, this movie is as bad as, like, the middle school me would assume that it is. Like, it was so under-delivering on all cylinders, and I was so shocked by how bad it was. But, okay, let me just get into my specifics here. Some of these are very nitty-gritty. But really, one of the big things is that, like, I kept thinking to myself, like, okay, this story is really bad, but why am I bored? Or, like, why is there still nothing there? And I feel like for me, it's a combination. I don't need to talk about my not liking Miley Cyrus. That's already there. But, like, the isms and the fashion of 2009 are so bad.
Yeah, and it's really grating. But I think, too, we need to...
Girl, if you try.
We need to check ourselves on just like how much time has passed since, because like, you know how obviously like at any given point in time there is about 10 to 15 years back, whatever that style is, it is so incredibly not in style now.
Yeah.
That's just like how the trend cycles work.
But why
right
do we need to talk about trend cycles? Because it's fugly.
Did you think it was then, too?
I don't think I thought it was, like, fugly then, but I definitely didn't like it.
I mean, I agree in that the fashion is not good. I'm not sitting here thinking it's good, but back then, I guess I didn't mind because it was just on brand for the time.
I just feel like really why I'm bringing it up is that a lot of the time, like, the fashion or, like, the aesthetic choices can redeem a bad story, and I just feel like that did not happen in this movie for me at all. The opening shot where the first character's face you see is just Billy Ray Cyrus sitting there expressionless, I was like, who decided that this was a good concept?
Yeah.
That was weird to me. I hated it when he said, I don't know, Miley, you're the one who wanted the best of both worlds. And then she, like, goes on stage at the beginning. I was like, this is really setting a low bar for how this is about to play out. The critical mass of hair length with Rico and Oliver is also a 2009 thing that is just chilling.
Yeah.
It's so long. It's, like, as long as my hair. Like, it's long.
Yeah. It's super, super long, except they're not putting it out of their face. So they've got this hair that's, like, covering their entire face. They look like mops, They just look like mop heads.
They do. They look like literal mops. Like, and it's not like the Beatles mop, like the cute little mop. Like, we're talking about, like, a fucking mop on their head.
That's been used in the middle school for the past 8 years.
Yeah, it's not good. I thought the part where Vanessa Williams shows up and pulls Miley out of school and they're like screaming about her schedule in the hallway and how she's famous, I was like, is this not blowing her cover? Like, why? Like,
yeah.
Like, what's happening here?
I mean, as far as anything with logistics of her identity, it's out the window.
Yeah. All of that is out the window.
It's out the window.
It's been out the window.
Yeah.
really a lot of my actual bad things are like in the beginning. So she can't show up to Lily's Sweet 16 unless she's in the Hannah Montana outfit. I understand that, kind of. But if you're not supposed to show up as Hannah Montana at the party, what then? Well, first of all, why did Lily get so mad about it? What, she was like, I'll never, ever forgive you. And I'm like, she's definitely done worse shit than this. And then on top of that, why would you perform at the party if you weren't supposed to show up as Hannah?
There's no logic here. All she has to do to show up as not Hannah Montana is take the wig off in this universe. All she has to do.
No. But in this situation, it was different because the paparazzi guy was following and she couldn't get out of the limo as Miley.
Right. Yeah, she was like held to it. I see.
Yeah.
But also, you're really not. Because she can get out of the limo as Hannah Montana, go to the bathroom. Just go to the bathroom.
Yeah, but then he'll follow her to the bathroom.
Like, I just feel that there is a way to get out of this, but...
I agree.
But I understand why Lily would be mad, because first of all, Miley lets down Lily every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
In the show and in the movie, she's an awful friend. It is my biggest problem. Because only in... I don't know, I think... in the Disney Channel shows, I think of like Wizards of Waverly Place. There's a few from that era where the main character is kind of hateful.
Yes.
And kind of overly biting, like overly sarcastic. And like Alex and Wivers. Alex in Wizards of Waverly Place was like that too. And it was just like a trend of the time. But I didn't enjoy it. I never loved, like really, really loved Wizards of Waverly Place or Hannah Montana because the main character is not nice. Like you don't really root for her.
You're unlocking a memory for me too because I agree.
Yeah.
Like a bitchy protagonist in a kid's show, it's like, why do I want good things to happen to her?
Yeah, and because it's a kid's show and it's like a 3-camera setup studio show, that it is going to be pretty surface level. So if it's surface level and the core traits of your protagonist are being rude,
yeah,
then like, why are we here? I don't know, who is really vibing with like Miley Cyrus like saying sweet niblets for like years?
There were people out there. It's the same people that appreciate the fact that this movie is 40% stunts and romper room fuckery, as we like to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so boring. Like the entire section where she's just going back and forth between the meeting and the date. I'm like, I was very, very close to skipping forward. Yeah. Because I know what happens. So it's okay.
When they got to the farm and Billy Ray Cyrus was immediately like, Molly, you got 2 weeks. I'm like, and we know the time frame. Like, it was just so, like, smacking you over the head with it, but whatever. I almost feel like in a lot of ways they use this movie more as, like, a vehicle for Miley's, like, sort of nebulous persona shift. Like, she wasn't exactly the character, she wasn't exactly herself, and she wasn't exactly, like, Hannah or whatever. It was just this weird kind of, like, blob.
Yeah. And it's extremely meta. The whole thing is so meta. Like, imagine having a corporation, Disney, take your actual personal life and commodify it and merchandise it for millions of people. Because there's a lot of aspects of Hannah Montana and the movie and the show that are taken from her real life. Like, it's her actual name. They have this country background.
Her actual dad.
Her actual dad. And then, like, this could not be true. So don't hold me to it if it's not true. But, and like, if Dolly had been in it, her actual grandmother. But I'm pretty godmother, not grandmother.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she actually did have a horse named Blue Jeans. Pretty sure.
Probably.
And so just the fact that it's very mind-boggling if you actually try to put yourself in her position.
Yeah.
She's not a product. She is a human being. And to have your personal life had to have so little degree of separation.
Right.
Is crazy. And that it makes the movie extremely meta too. And there's always just so many questions of like universes and like what
Yes.
What is going on?
Which leads me to one of my questions. So, okay, with the rest of my things that I said were bad, they're all very nitpicky. So we can move on to the notable ones, which are more like questions, things I was wondering about. And when it comes to universe things, Audrey and I were talking about this for a second earlier, but like the songs in the movie are diegetic.
Yeah.
But sometimes as it gets into like the second verse or like the bridge or something, the lyrics start to become so on the nose that it feels like it's a musical number, but it's like not quite a musical number.
Yeah.
And that but there's never like a fantasy sequence or like a dream thing. Like it always is grounded in reality, even in the beginning with the weird music video bit.
Yeah, it's still grounded in reality. They keep faking you out, thinking that you're gonna get like a real musical number that is not in reality.
Yeah.
But no. And yeah, music wise, it's pretty wild. It wasn't, like a jump in situation where you've got actors in the movie singing soundtrack songs that are legitimately just playing like they're playing in the world, and it doesn't make sense because they didn't sing them. Those people could not have sung them in the movie. So it's not that bad, but it's just constantly like bouncing around from song to song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm looking at the aggressive product placement of the cool pics was so good.
Yes. And that also reminded me of Megan in our Megan and Liz Twilight episode. She said that and it's so relevant to this conversation, like she was taking pictures of Taylor Lautner at the Taylor Swift concert when they were dating. I love
her cool pics.
Yeah, on her cool pics. Nikon cool pics.
Yeah, like the cool pics product placement and also like the Samsung product placement was really heavy, but very funny, and also kind of ultimately serves to sort of discredit the ending when they're like, we can just pretend like no one ever saw you take your wig off. It's like, okay, but we already know everyone has cell phones with cameras.
It is so
bad. So good.
It's so bad. The ending, I forgot what the ending was.
I could not believe. I wrote down at the end, this movie has the nerve to be trash.
Yeah.
Because of the ending.
And to own it. And I was like, I was thinking back and I was like, okay, if I was Disney and I was trying to capitalize off this franchise by making a movie when it made the most sense, you don't do it before the show ends. I realized that they couldn't know when the show was going to end necessarily.
I saw when I was looking stuff up before this that they originally made this movie thinking that it was going to be the ending, and then another season got greenlit.
Exactly. Yeah. And hence the rebrand Hannah Montana Forever, which was the last season.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so, like, I can see so clearly that they were in development for this movie thinking it was Miley Cyrus's transition into post-Hannah Montana life. That would have made sense because she came out with her own album. She came out with the half Hannah, half Miley album. And the ending would have made sense too. She's taking the wig off, she's owning who she is, and she is now going to be herself.
Yeah.
But it's so clear that at some point along the way, they knew that there was going to be another season, and they had to change the ending so that she could continue to be Hannah Montana because the secret had not been revealed in the show.
Yeah.
Now, if I was in this situation as a writer for the movie, I would then change. I would literally rewrite the entire movie, or hold off on the movie until after the next season, because inevitably the movie has to be about her secret, because everything has to be about her secret. That's all there is to the show.
Yeah.
So there was nothing more like confusing and just bad than seeing this little girl be like, put the wig back on.
Yep. That was the worst part when she's like, put the wig back on, Hannah. We won't tell your secret.
It was so bad that I was in disbelief. And also the complete logical fallacy of like 1,000 people in a crowd at a concert. These people are not all your family. These are not your close, trusted friends. These people are not going to keep a very, very coveted, juicy secret for you forever.
Yeah.
Like, for the inevitable, just future. They are not... They are not that trustworthy. So, and the ending too was bad. We got no wrap up, like anything. It was bad.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Everything you just said, yes, correct. I accidentally made us jump to the end, but there were other things I had that I was wondering about. I wrote down that acting with your dad seems like it would be really embarrassing, but
yes,
she does such a good job of like taking it seriously, and for that I give her flowers, especially if your dad's motherfucking Billy Ray Cyrus. Like, how do you even get through that,
I know. I actually do have respect for that. Her being able to act and work with her actual father every single day for years on end.
Yeah.
It's a crazy situation to put somebody in. Like,
yeah, totally. And like knowing that her father's getting this whole career renaissance off of her efforts, like that's just an interesting dynamic. I am totally sure.
Yeah. I do kind of think it's just a missed opportunity to not include Mitchell Musso more, because I bet he felt extremely left out.
Yeah, I wonder why they didn't.
He is not as tertiary as Rico is.
Right.
I would say like his character is bigger than Jackson is sometimes.
Definitely.
Like,
yeah.
So like what was going on that this became, was it because it had to be so Miley centered and it had to have a love interest and that's
probably it.
Check all these boxes. They couldn't spend time on him because he wasn't a love interest. And they weren't going to make him one.
Yeah, that's a good point. I bet that is actually what it is. Speaking of the love interest, I just have two things. So it just seems very convenient and unlikely that there would be a perfectly aged hot cowboy just there when she shows up. I was like, that is so convenient. And then on that note, and what Audrey and I touched on for a second earlier, is just that, like, this town that they're in this movie, you can just tell would be, like, the most racist place in the world. It just feels like such a romanticization of, like, country life. But that doesn't stop the movie from having the situation where it's like a crowd scene of like 85 people and there's like two random black couples like sprinkled in there, and I'm like, what's the story of those people? Like, how did they end up in that barn? Like, that's what I want to know, you know?
It is so, like, culturally bizarre to witness, because, like, it is coming, this piece of art is coming to us through, like, 5 million, like, filters. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many things that have to, you know, be passed by, like, Big Brother Disney before it can reach
the big mouse, if you will.
yeah, like, before it can reach our consumer eyeballs.
There were many moments where I was like, this speaks to a fantasy I once had of, like, the Nashville escapism thing, like, reject modernity and go to the farm type shit.
Yeah.
But then it's, like, fake.
Not that Nashville is a farm.
No. Nashville is not a farm. Ohio is way more of a farm than Nashville is. But you get what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It's, like, the idea
Yes.
of it all.
Yeah, and yeah, the house was looking a little plantation-y. Was it not?
Yes, it was looking a bit plantation-y. And also, speaking of that house, we never got a follow-up or justice for Grandma's plate collection that got fucking wrecked for no reason.
The way that they cut that scene was really
It was so awkward.
bad.
I hate it in movies when people's prized possessions get destroyed for no reason. It makes me really sad. I hate that.
Yeah, I was like, this is just not necessary. You know, he could have just broken one. That's all we need. You could have just broken one plate even. Like, he could have just done the one plate falls, he catches it, he's like, oh, my bad, whoops. And then he's like, we're fine. And it breaks on the light. And that would have accomplished the comedic beat they were going for. That would have been fine.
Yep. That kind of humor sort of reminds me of, like, the Family Guy thing where it's like something funny will happen and then they, like, repeat it over and over and over and over and over again,
Yeah.
like, in the same scene without ever cutting. And I was just like, I don't miss this time. I think okay, especially thinking about how deep we could really go into this, because we're already an hour in and
I know.
there's so much to say about Miley Cyrus and, like, the Disney machine in general, but I feel like this movie, when it comes to is it worth watching or is it good, to me there's so much about it that is, like, inherently baked into it that is so 2009 that I just do not miss, I do not enjoy, and I do not want to relive, that it makes it not good or worth watching for me.
Yeah, I always think I'm gonna have a better time than I do with this one. And we didn't even mention, and the reason we didn't even mention this is because it is so deeply unfunny and unimportant, is the actual villain, who is technically the boss of the paparazzi.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, why? You really could have just had a rogue paparazzi. You didn't need an evil, like, magazine editor. Like, it's just not about that.
And also,
but,
there was the whole development villain. There were a lot of, like, random antagonistic forces that, like, didn't end up mattering literally at all.
Here's my grand plan idea. Is we take out the entire, you know, constant threat of her being exposed, as being Hannah Montana, and we just focus on the love story and her being less bitchy.
Yeah.
And we're very much focused on Lucas and Miley, and there's some really juicy thing. There's some really juicy third element to that is causing a disturbance, but they ultimately come together, of course, and she there could still be a little threat of identity thing, but it is not the main
thing.
because
it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's exhausting. And, you know, a lot of the TV show is not about that because you can't talk about that. Kind of like how in Gossip Girl, you don't actually care who Gossip Girl is because it doesn't matter at all. And, of course, they decided to decide who that is and made the show ultimately, like, completely meaningless because of their poor decision making.
Yeah.
It should have been no one. But anyway.
That's a topic for another time. Okay, well, you know, it's an interesting movie. I've said how I feel about it. Audrey, is it good? Is it worth watching?
Obviously, if you love Miley Cyrus or you watched the show, I think it's... Actually, if you love the show, maybe don't watch this movie. I'm sure you've already seen it.
Right.
You know, we've had a good 11 years, 12 years. But if you love the show and somehow haven't seen this movie, don't watch the movie because the final season of Hannah Montana is, as I was saying earlier, I forgot to continue that train of thought. It was rebranded to Hannah Montana Forever, and that season gives you all the answers and plot ties that you would want from the franchise. So the movie is unnecessary. Maybe just watch the music video for The Climb.
But to those of you who requested that we watch the Hannah Montana movie, I am glad that I watched it. I do feel like I have a new, like, piece of foundation in my, like, on my base level of understanding the movies that we talk about. So even though this was late in the era for us and it was bad, I still had kind of a good time because I had no idea what was going to happen. So I'm glad I watched it. I will not be watching it again, but thank you for suggesting it.
Yeah, and you know, we'll put the soundtrack on our playlist. I always put the soundtrack for every movie we cover on the playlist, and I think some of them really are worth listening to, actually. They're like just a fun, mindless time, so there you go.
Yes, there were a couple songs I really liked, actually. So I'll have to give the soundtrack a listen and identify which ones those were. More things keep popping up in my mind, but we gotta not go there. So
honestly, it's fine.
Maybe I'll just do some tweets on the 2Pink account talking about small things in Hannah Montana, the movie, that I have questions about. That could be good. We'll be back with a few more episodes this season, and then we'll take a short break, and then we'll be back, I think. As far as we know, we'll be back.
Yeah, we're kind of quickly barreling towards the end of season 2. But we do have some really fun last episodes in store. I'm excited to record them. So if I'm excited to record them, then you know they're going to be good.
And the next few, Audrey and I are going to be together in person. So the vibe will be back to a season 1 vintage feel, and the video version of the shows, we will be in the same room, which will really be a game changer, I think.
Yeah, that will be fun. Looking forward to that vibe.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us this week, as always, and we will be back very soon. Bye.
Bye. You can find more from us at evergreenpodcast.com/sleepover-cinema and keep up with our latest creative projects at 2pinkpictures.com. If you want to watch our show as well as listen, we're on YouTube too. Search Sleepover Cinema or go to the link tree in our Instagram bio. We're on Instagram and Twitter at 2pinkpictures and would love to hear from you there. We're also on TikTok at Sleepover Cinema, and that's really where the party is at.
And if you like the show, if it brings back evocative memories of childhood or tweendom or babysitting, share the episode with a few friends. Leave us an iTunes review telling us what movie you'd like to see us cover next, and leave us a review if you like the show, and if you don't. Sleepover Cinema is a production of Evergreen Podcasts, produced, edited, and engineered by us, Hannah and Audrey Leach. Sleepover Cinema is mixed by Sean Rule Hoffman, with theme music by Josh Perlman Hall. Special thanks to executive producers Michael D'Aloia and David Moss. We'll chat again soon.